Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Strange Days True Crime, where we look at stories of unsolved disappearances, murders, and unidentified in the hopes that one day they'll be solved. The strange unsolved murder of Kayla Osterlund. Kayla Osterlund was born on October 22nd of 1988. Kayla had an older sister named Brittany, and the pair were very close. As well, Kayla had a younger brother named Justin. Kayla and Brittany shared the same mom, but had different fathers. And Kayla's father would adopt Brittany before she was born. Kayla's father was in prison her whole life, and their mother would marry, and the pair were together for around 30 years. Kayla was described as being very caring and loving, and looked up to her older sister Brittany. Along with being a great person, Kayla loved hip-hop and R&B music and was very spiritual and a big believer in God. Growing up, Kayla and her sister spent their early childhood being raised by their great-grandparents. Brittany stated that Kayla was not just her sister, but her best friend, and the sisters were known as the O Sisters, and everyone talked about how pretty Kayla was. In fact, this even led to the sisters once having an argument about who was prettier. When Brittany was around 12, she was sent to live in a group home, and then a foster home, and not long after, Kayla was sent to live in a foster home, from the age of 11 to 18, off and on. Both Kayla and Brittany would live with their mother during this time for a span of 6 months. However, this didn't work out. But despite all of this, Kayla still managed to graduate from Madison Comprehensive High School. Kayla and Brittany would also grow up on the streets. After this, Kayla would live in a few different apartments with boyfriends, and again with her sister Brittany, off and on as adults. During Kayla's life, she would begin to smoke weed occasionally, which would later turn into a heroin addiction. In 2011, Kayla was shooting up and was walking down the stairs of the building in which she was living at the time, and then things went black for her. Kayla had overdosed and was laying at the bottom of the stairs until someone found her and placed a call to 911. A few weeks after this incident, Kayla would wake up in the hospital, not knowing what had happened. During the weeks after her overdose, Kayla was in a coma as she had gone 4 minutes without any oxygen, which had caused some brain damage. The next few months were difficult for Kayla, but she pushed through and had to learn how to talk and walk all over again through therapy. Because of the brain damage, Kayla would now speak with a slur and would need the aid of a walker to get around. Kayla was told she would likely be this way for the rest of her life, and she was only 23 years old at the time. The overdose also caused Kayla to have behavioral problems, which made her scream and holler using profanity uncontrollably, as well as make it hard to understand what Kayla was trying to say. And she would also have muscle spasms, which would make her body twitch. In 2021, Kayla lived with her boyfriend, Quinn Fry, in which the pair shared an apartment on Wood Street in Mansfield, Ohio. Kayla had struggled with her addiction, but had 2 sons before this time, and had just given birth to her third, which she had with Quinn. Kayla's sister Brittany had stated that she talked to Kayla almost every day, and she said that she had talked with her on Thursday, July 15th. Then on Friday, the 16th, Brittany received a message on Facebook from someone stating that Kayla was safe. On the next day, the 17th of July, Kayla's boyfriend Quinn had messaged Brittany stating that Kayla had been missing for 24 hours, which Brittany thought was odd that Quinn had specifically said 24 hours. However, Brittany didn't think much about this, as Kayla would sometimes go off for a few days and would then show up again. Over the weekend, Quinn had made several calls to Brittany, asking her if she had heard from or seen Kayla, but Brittany had not talked with or seen her sister. On that Monday, Quinn called Brittany again, stating that Kayla was still gone. Brittany was at work and told Quinn to file a missing persons report on Kayla. Kayla and Brittany's grandmother had passed away, and due to Quinn turning off Kayla's phone, Brittany had made a Facebook post on Kayla's page so she would hopefully see the post about their grandmother's passing, as there was no other way to contact her. However, Brittany never heard back from Kayla and knew something wasn't right, as Kayla would never be absent during this difficult time. It would also be during this time that Quinn would continue to contact Brittany with stories of what others had told him and where she was last seen. Brittany would make a missing persons poster for Kayla and posted it on Facebook, where it was shared 725 times, but Brittany knew something wasn't right. During this time, it was stated that for hours, Kayla's boyfriend Quinn sat in front of Joe and Mary's convenience store located at Sturgis Avenue in Mansfield, and to some this seemed odd. Brittany and her family would hold a funeral service for their grandmother who had recently passed, but Kayla never showed up, and that was when Brittany knew something terrible had happened to her sister. The worst thoughts ran through Brittany's mind, from thinking Kayla had been kidnapped or even dead. It was stated that things weren't always good between Kayla and Quinn, as he had a history of abusing Kayla, and about a week before Kayla had gone missing, Quinn had beat Kayla up and kicked her out of the apartment that they shared. The altercation that was believed to have taken place was due to Kayla breaking into the apartment and taking a TV, which she stole and later sold. Kayla had been taunting Quinn about the TV and told him she had been having sex with other men. Due to Kayla being an addict, she would sometimes have sex with other men in exchange for drugs. On Saturday, Kayla's sister Brittany held a search for Kayla, and they were set to meet at Joe and Mary's convenience store, which had been reportedly the last place that Kayla was seen. Even though Brittany's flyer had been shared over 700 times, no one showed up to help search. With only Brittany, her boyfriend, her mom, Quinn, and a family friend named Candace to show up for the search, the five set out to conduct their own search for missing Kayla. The group planned to split up and look while knocking on doors and asking if anyone had seen Kayla. Quinn had set off to walk down the alley behind Joe and Mary's, and had stated that this was the alley he was told that Kayla was last seen at on the night she went missing, supposedly having sex with some men in exchange for some money. Not long after they began to search, Brittany met up with Quinn in the alley, and he told Brittany to look on the other side of the fence, but Brittany didn't see anything. Quinn then came out from the bushes, pointing and saying, "Back in there." Brittany went to where Quinn was pointing and saw ants crawling all over the ground. Looking to where the ants were coming from, Brittany then saw a leg just from the knee down. It looked as though it was a severed leg. Brittany knew instantly that it was her sister, Kayla. Brittany had told Quinn to go back and look, and when he came out, he said that there was a body back there. The body had trash and pieces of an old air conditioner laying on top of it. Brittany's mom removed some of the trash to confirm there was a body, and she could see a face and torso. Police were called to the scene, and Brittany and the others were told they had to leave the area as it was now a crime scene. The body was badly decomposed from laying out in the elements for some time, which made it difficult to identify the remains right away, and it was stated that the only clothing on the body was a sports bra and socks. The Major Crime Division and representatives from the Richland Coroner's Office were called to the scene, where the fence at the back of the property on Blymeyer Avenue was removed in order to allow better access to the body, which was removed and taken to the Montgomery County Medical Examiner's Office for an autopsy and forensic identification. It was later confirmed to in fact be the body of missing 32-year-old Kayla Osterland. The night before Brittany was going to conduct her search, she was at a store where she ran into an acquaintance who stated that their mother worked at a daycare near the convenience store and had called the police several times to report a foul smell coming from the alley. They had requested that the police come and have a look, and when they did finally come, it was only one officer who looked around for 10 minutes before leaving. It had taken several calls to get them to come to the location where Kayla would eventually be found. At the scene, Brittany had stated that Quinn kept saying, they killed her, as if he may have known who they were. Quinn then began to ask strange questions like, do you think she was strangled? And would you be able to tell that's how she died? And these questions didn't sit well with Brittany. Brittany also found it strange how only 5 minutes into the search that Quinn pointed out where she was and was able to see the body with all the trash laying on top of her. Kayla's family was told a week after her body was found that her jaw was broken and her nose was broken, along with some broken ribs, but they were unable to determine her cause of death, and Kayla's death was ruled a homicide. Due to maggots being found on the body, they were able to test them, and they were found to have amounts of marijuana in them, which meant Kayla also had marijuana in her system, so they were able to rule out that Kayla had not died from an overdose. One strange thing that was noted was that Kayla's purse was not found with her, and neither was her walker, which she could not walk without, and it was stated that investigators didn't collect any of the garbage laying on top of the body for fingerprints or evidence, stating the rain would have washed it away. Investigators were unable to determine Kayla's cause of death, and it was thought that Kayla could have been possibly suffocated or strangled, but this could not be proven. Police had given one suspect a lie detector test, in which the suspect passed. The investigation into Kayla Osterland's murder is still open and ongoing, but there have been no leads in the case to date. Kayla's purse and walker were never found. Kayla's family does not believe that her case is being taken seriously by investigators. As to them, she was just another addict. But for Kayla's family, she was so much more. She was a sister, daughter, mother, friend, and was loved and still is by her family, who is looking for answers. The family is trying to raise money for a private investigator. As well, there is a Justice for Kayla webpage sharing Kayla's story. If you have any information about Kayla's murder, please come forward and contact 419-522-1234, and you can remain anonymous. That's it for this episode, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of these strange days we live in.